So good morning, everyone. Welcome to Satsang. Let's make some silence first. All these experiences, phenomenons that rise and collapse before me, they are nothing. They are illusion. The apparent one to which these phenomenons appear and disappear, it is nothing. It is illusion. Only silence prevails. Only silence exists. Beyond the external layers or internal ones, I alone abide, previous to all of that. And there rests my attention, ignoring everything else. So good morning, everyone, once again. So let's talk a little bit about spiritual practice. What does it mean in practical terms, more or less? When it is said that it's a process of purification, that process means transforming that which is apparently dense into that which is subtle. Breaking the big parts, the big condensed parts into dust. So this is what happens when you start meditating. Everything which is dense there, either at the physical level, energetic level, mental level, is starting to get dissolved. The character is a product of noise, condensed beliefs, and noise. Those condensed beliefs create movement, noise, and that noise piles up and forms the apparent character. Meditation starts to dissolve those structures. But it is a very subtle tool. It's a very subtle tool. What does that mean? It means it takes time and depends on a lot of factors. And the most important factors are your motivations behind your meditation practice, and your attitude towards your spiritual path, towards the path of liberation. Because, first of all, to be in the path of liberation, it takes time and a lot of clarity. Everybody thinks they are in the quest for freedom. But for many, this word freedom has a very specific meaning. And that translates in some kind of improvement of human life / the dream. So even if you're not thinking about this as a conscious goal, as long as there's this meaning associated with the word, it is something which is in the direction of improving the dream. And that is opposite to liberation. So for example, in this case, meditation will have to work on many aspects until this belief, this meaning changes. Not to a different meaning, but to something which is open, free. It's a liberation period. I don't dare giving it some meaning. In this case, if I don't give the meaning is not there, then these present structures will not feed on it. Because if I give meaning, the blessings of spiritual work will also be taken by the character, and it will feed on this. And this is actually the most important aspect. Motivations, attitude. Because if it's not really for liberation, if it still has some meaning and you can see it clearly sometimes, but then deeper meanings, they take time. And as long as this is there, your spiritual work is going against the goals of your spiritual work, which are liberation. So meditation works in a very subtle way. And it takes time, like I said. But for the grossest aspects, you have better tools to couple with meditation. I'm not saying this in the sense that, well, so meditation is too slow or something like this. No, it needs to be coupled with awareness and some other tools which are more effective. More effective in the sense that it will enhance meditation and it will make it faster, that same work. And I'll give an example at the level of physicality, whatever that means. So physically, meditation starts to process the physical energy and transforming it also. And so, for example, you have dense energy which accumulates in your bowels, for example. You can wait for the practice of meditation to clean it up, or you can do one of the yogic kriyas and expel everything and wash it away faster. As you do that, your meditation can take care of other more subtle aspects without wasting time with these grossest structures. It's the same example as for the character in itself. And maybe you're wondering, what does that has to do with anything? Your bowels. Well, it's very important to clean your bowels before meditation because it helps a lot. And even so, to keep it as clean as possible. And that talks about your food and everything like this, because when you're intensifying your spiritual practices and you're abstracting from a lot of dense things, your mind sometimes uses what's in your bowels as a way to feed itself with this gross energy. And that would be a long explanation, but let's keep it that way. So your mind will use everything which has at hand to maintain itself. So this is why many people who are undergoing intense meditation, sometimes they cannot go to bathroom. The body holds it up there and use this energy to feed these structures, because it goes always to the same level: density, subtlety. And the point of all of this is that without understanding these mechanisms, it's very easy to get lost in your own ideas. And this is the danger. Because, like we have been talking about, you are your biggest obstacle. And there's a lot of ideas that are there in a subtle way that even if you're not aware of this, even if you're not repeating, they are there. And one of these are, so spiritual practice is like building something, enabling me to reach somewhere. And it's like building on top of what is here. What is here is good. I just have to improve it, to enhance it, to build on top of it, so that it works, whatever that means. But in reality, meditation is dissolving these structures. But if you have these ideas, if in some way you want to enhance what is the character, make it better, then you're using meditation for this purpose, and it's actually strengthening these structures, and it will take time for a big collapse ahead, if possible, if there's room in your world for that. So it's a very big journey to arrive at a point that it would be faster if you understood the principles of it. So if you're trying to dissolve a mountain and you're using a spoon for it, it's effective, but it will take time. But you can use dynamite and make it in smaller portions, then meditation can enhance itself, can evolve quicker. But for this, the awareness that these structures of the character needs to be broken down has to be clear. And by breaking down, it means cutting their food. And their food is food in itself, as some fruits that are coming towards my hidden investments, or hope that that food will come. Hope is enough to maintain all these structures. So when you say, many people say, oh, I'm going to silence, I'm staying there in silence. Well, that silence is dissolving, as it is possible, this character. It has to stay there. But if he knows this, he can let go some hand grenades inside, breaking the character structures. Then that silence becomes much more efficient. And as long as these ideas of self-improvement, of gains, of the improvement of illusion, which is, many times we'll say, liberation, happiness. And it seems that everybody's talking about the same. But then you ask, what is the meaning of that? What is your meaning of happiness? And then it gets clear. Voila, here it is. The direction being shifted to the improvement of the dream. And then years and years of meditation end up in frustration. It will eventually, even if only by that frustration and what comes after it, because sometimes frustration is the only thing that can help, if it is a seeker of truth, of course. Because sometimes just in that moment, it can get the right alignment. But only the seeker of truth can do that, because when he gets frustrated, a door, a passage which wasn't present becomes visible, because, okay, I'm frustrated, but there's no turning back. I cannot turn back. As for the seeker of well-being, gives up and goes to do something else. Even if it is spiritually speaking. And that's very important. Because many times seekers eventually arrive to a point that they cannot go through, and their test is to go through that, and they just give up and go into another direction. And it seems that, oh, everything is fine, but not really. So this is where these crazy things come. Sacrifices, radical changes. This is where they come into this direction of cutting the character's food. Not only the food that you're getting from your environment, because your environment just reflects your needs, what you are feeding, and you're there, you're feeling at home, or even if not, but if you're there, observe what surrounds you, what's important to you, how you would feel to let all of that go. And then you'll see if you're serious. Then you see the importance of it and what it represents in terms of food to the character. So leaving everything behind, this is what it means, for example. But many people don't leave everything behind. They are following something else, and that is different. So if you're letting go of what you have now, and you're moving somewhere else because you were letting go of this, it has one meaning. But if you're letting go of this because you want something which is there, it's a completely different meaning. In the first one, there will be collapses. You will undergo collapses. In the other one, you won't, because, well, it's a matter of greed, for example. So that it's about something that is there to be gained, not something that is there to be lost. And these loss, when you break the chain of these supplies to the character, you start undergoing collapses, crises. And this is the rigid structures start to crumble. And this is enhancing your meditation, because smaller particles can be dissolved faster. You're in charge, because even if meditation could do that directly, you wouldn't be able to take it. You would collapse together with it. So when seekers are in an intense spiritual path, they go through many moments of crisis that sometimes it borders the line of sanity, goes very near, and it's, well, you're not really sure where sanity and insanity, you go through the line there. Many times it happens, because to crumble the character and for you to still remain there, a lot of inner strength has to be present. A lot of work has also to have been done. Disidentification. I'm not sure if this word exists like this. Okay, but cutting identification with the character, gaining some distance with it. Or else the you, the notion of you, crumbles with it. The more intense is your path, especially in the beginning, the more filled with ups and downs it is. And more or less, up to a certain point, of course, the faster these cycles come and go, the better. The better it is going. But this is very difficult. seekers tend to avoid this at all costs. For programming, body-mind is programmed to maintain peace, circumstantial peace, and whenever there's chaos, inner chaos, it is interpreted as wrong, bad, so it has to be stopped. So very few can work beyond this. Everything goes in the same direction, but it takes longer and longer and longer. And the longer it takes, the better the character can adapt, survive, and strive and prosper. So it's not really the spiritual practice in itself, but the changing in the perception of what is the sense, what is liberation, what does the goal means. And as you are clear about that, the right attitude will also come with it. If you're not clear about that, the right attitude will not be there. There can be similar attitudes, but they are plastic. They are a means to an end. And that's no use. When the attitude changes, the way you look at your day, at your spiritual practice, at your goal, everything changes. And then it starts going faster. It's like spending a few years trying to start the engine of your car. And when it really starts, well, then you just push the accelerator and it goes fast. But prior to that, it seems that you're not moving, not going anywhere, just there trying to make it work. This is how many seekers feel with their practice. Those who are paying attention, those who are in the quest for liberation. Because those who are in the quest for liberation, they need to see something going in the right direction. Those who are in the entertainment alignment, that's just news here, news there, a new toy here, another one there, changing, learning this and that, and it's something very, very different. Dissolution, it's not about learning, it's about unlearning. Unlearning means dissolution of the present structures built by this learning, this noise accumulation. So liberation is more accurate in the sense of becoming nothing. This vision is more when you're nothing, if you're walking towards nothing, there's nothing to defend about yourself. There's nothing to attack. There's nothing to take as personal. There's nothing to strive for this person. There's nothing to influence, try to control. So becoming nothing is a good alignment, less prone to confusion. But everything is prone to confusion because it depends on your needs, your real needs, and the actual call in your heart. So unbuilding, unlearning, picking up the condensed, the dense aspects and breaking it in smaller parts. Instead of using meditation to take care of dense aspects, use other tools to take care of these dense aspects. Let meditation to the more subtle aspects. Then it's faster. So if you're going to that silence and you're not cutting the food from the character, cutting his dreams, hopes, and expectations for a better tomorrow, then it takes time. And it will take us as long as needed for you to understand this. And for those who are in a hurry, they can't afford all that time wasted. Monsieur, moi je suis pauvre. Tem Wi-Fi aí, Jerry? Tô conseguindo ligar no Wi-Fi. Having difficulties connecting into Wi-Fi. Let's reboot. So, as I wait for this, so if you're on the quest for truth and you have inserted that quest into your life, taking care of all structures, safety, and all of these things, those same things in place, getting attention, affection, approval, love, recognition, etc., 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 and putting in place quest for liberation, a very big new field where probably you will meet new people and you can start again this quest for acceptance, approval, recognition. Nothing much is changing. Just a new field with new possibilities. And in that, all these other undertakings that were getting frustrated, they gain a new meaning, a new hope for the future. So coming back to nothingness, going to nothingness, becoming nothing, is less prone to confusion. your dreams, your expectations, all of this comes through the character, the way it was built. So if you were experiencing hunger, well, that character gets built in a sense that what you will envision as a better future is a future where there's abundance of food, of resources, for example. So character is completely circumstantial, and circumstances drive the character and twist everything, especially quest for liberation. As you learn to dissolve the structures, to cut the food, because, well, meditation says, stay still, focus on this, even if it is abstraction. And your investments to feed that character, they are opposite to this. You have to do this, change that, control this, wait for this, do this and that. They are contrary to each other. Unless, again, if you're using your meditation as a means to arrive to those improvements, then it's not meditation. And usually by doing so, there is more difficult. There is a level as to how much you can make without putting at risk your motivations, unless they are really dense and dense and dense. And then you can practice a lot of meditations with the goal to make your vision true, the improvement of the dream. But this is rare. For average seekers, if you practice too much meditation, the wrong motivations, they start to be questioned, they start to get dissolved because level of awareness increases and you cannot take things as you did previously. But there's always exceptions in everything. Mm-hmm. Dear Shima, every time I listen to your satsangs, I start my quest again. I start from the beginning after listening the last satsang. Je sais pas si c'est clair. Oui, c'est clair. Well, that's a good sign or a very bad one, depending. Depending. Because in a way, as you get things more clear, it will reveal to you that you have strayed again. You're not walking the narrow, straight path. So restarting again, that's a good sign. But if you're saying that as you finish this satsang, you start your spiritual practice, and then a few days after it ends, and then you restart again in the next satsang, well, that's very bad. But if you're getting clarity after clarity in each satsang, that is good. So restarting again, because that's the thing, you know, people tend to be sure of a lot of things. They are even sure of what they should do. That's very strange. Should be. Because they are blind. And they are pretty sure of what's right, what's wrong. This is how you see so many discussions in the internet. It's interesting because everybody's discussing the right path to liberation. And they say, oh, you just have to do this, and you just have to do this, you just have to do this. Everybody's saying that, but all blind. But this certainty, in a sense, is what makes them keep going. But as clarity comes, and you're attached to liberation, to the goal of liberation, and not to being right, then you will drop easily a conviction that was there previously. You've seen, no, it's not this, and you restart again. That is a very good thing, because this is what sums, because you will be doing a lot of things, whatever that means. But eventually it sums up to finding and maintaining, remaining in the right track, because that's the most difficult thing. You're always convinced of a lot of things, and that's only to make you move. But as you recognize, as you are able to move one step forward, and this is what meditation enables you, one step forward, you have a better view, and then you'll see, start again. It's not really starting again, but in a way it is starting again. And this is very difficult. I usually hear, oh, but I'm not doing anything right, or I thought I was doing right and it was right, now it's not right. Of course, it changes as it is possible, the next step. So the previous step was correct according to what you knew, according to what was possible. As the next step becomes possible, that becomes wrong, useless, an obstacle. So this capacity to start again, that is very important. But again, if it's just starting again because you have given up previously, well, that is nothing. And it quite happens a lot. I get these messages a lot from people who are just going 2 steps forward, 2 steps backwards, or sometimes 5 steps backwards, then 2 steps forwards, 2 steps backwards, and life goes on just like this. But and I have no interest in this. So sometimes people get frustrated, and because I don't answer something like this, but I don't have an interest. Those who want to walk forward, they walk forward. With difficulties, with more ease, it doesn't matter. They walk forward. Those who don't want, they go 2 steps forward, few steps backward, and they spend all their lives like this, and life goes by very, very quick, and they need no help for this. After help is given and they just continue in the same, there's no worries, because this is how they want to be. So this is what differentiates a seeker of truth from a seeker of well-being. Seeker of truth always finds a way to move forward. Sometimes in the most bitter agonies, but he finds a way to move forward. This is the brand of the seeker of truth. Eventually, with stumbling here and there, but he managed to continue. And to continue, it's like reinventing yourself again and again. Because what was right now becomes wrong after, and you see, you were convinced this was the right thing, then, oh, I wasn't see it clearly. And difficult part is that many times the path becomes important to be right. It's not about the fruits, but to be right. Because it has become a tool of self-value. And that delays a lot. So some other questions. Some teachings say that while meditating with eyes closed, to internally direct our gaze between the eyebrows or at the tip of the nose. Is it something that you recommend also? And if yes, at which of these locations? I don't make these recommendations. I talk about meditation, and like these things, they can be techniques in themselves or aspects of some technique. But the important thing is learn a technique and practice it intensely. Start your fire, start the chaos, make it alive. This is what's important. These details I only give to those who are under guidance, because they are aspects which are very personal and respond to moments of the spiritual practice, stages of it. And some things can come prior, others can come, the same thing can come just later. It's about what is needed for that specific seeker in that moment. And this also in the case where something else is not possible, and that is the throwing the grenades. Because when throwing the grenades is possible, then it's different also. But all these things are good as a meditation technique in itself or as an aspect of meditation techniques. Pick one and practice intensely. When it starts getting serious, then it's different. Yes, because it shows me that I'm my mistake, like I'm a big obstacle. Of course, this is what spiritual practice is all about. If you're not seeing yourself as the obstacle, it means you're following a bone like a dog, not thinking, just going, and not seeing it, just keeping yourself entertained. Spiritual practice in the absence of guidance, of course. Because when guidance is there, the path is pointed, or the circumstances are created so that parts of that construction of that character get blown to pieces. Sometimes this is very difficult, yes, because a part of the seeker goes with that pieces and sometimes it's difficult to recover. But like I said, the seeker of truth always finds a way. That's what differentiates the seeker of truth from the seeker of well-being. And in a sense, well, this is very frequent. So I see many times the same grenade getting dropped on someone's lap and different reactions are there. It blows in the same way, it hurts in the same way, but some actually find a way to get even closer or more focused in their practice. Others go away. So the real work brings the clarification for every parties involved. Every part's involved. And without this tireless condition, you cannot reach the end of it. Because, well, maybe you can go at this level, but higher than this, you can't. Because in the end, it's about what are you ready to let go. An intellectual answer does nothing here. Oh, I'll let go everything. But as this let go starts, then you get a clear vision of it. This is the way you were talking or not. because letting go of everything is not something external that you can quantify and compare to others. It's the structures of your character. So to let go of these structures, you'll have to deal with your fears, fragility, attachments, and all of this. It's unavoidable. And sure is painful. But the more devotion and surrender you carry in your heart, the easier it is, because, well, you'll be constantly filling yourself with God, with that divine presence. It's difficult when there's no room for that, or very little room. Then it's more difficult. Still possible. Quite possible. So what's true now may not be later, because these truths, this vision, like I've explained previously, it's a fruit of conditioning. The character is fruit of conditioning. And these things are circumstantial in nature. Okay. Remember, meditation has to be kept intensely. If it's not intense, probably it's not going anywhere. Just appears to be going. And sometimes blessings come into your way as fruits of your spiritual work. Don't waste time enjoying them. Let them build up. Okay. So next satsang will be Wednesday, 9:30 in the morning, Brazilian time, UTC -3. We are doing a little bit changes to make things a little bit more simple here. So previously satsang was being transmitted through Facebook and Google and Instagram. Now it's going to be only on Instagram and YouTube to make it easier for us here. So sometimes there will be the link previously, other times probably there won't, but you know where the YouTube channel is, or Instagram. And so these two platforms, they will the ones that for now will continue. Okay. Make the best use of your time. Make it real. Watch.